Welcome to Ethan's Revenge.
I was halfway through my deployment when I got the email that ended my marriage. My name is David Cole. I'm 38 years old, a Marine with 15 years of service, and until that Tuesday morning, a married man. I was 7 months into a year-long deployment when I received an email that shattered the life I thought I'd come back to. It was from my wife, Jessica. No subject line, just a single line of text. I think we need to talk about moving on. I stared at the screen, the desert heat pressing down on me, sand swirling outside the tent like ghosts. I clicked it open, expecting maybe a message about the struggles of distance, about how hard it's been for her to hold things together while I'm away. Maybe a plea for more calls, more messages, more something. But it wasn't that. Instead, it was a cold, carefully worded paragraph about how she felt trapped, how she'd grown in my absence, how the spark had faded, and how she was ready to find herself again. No apology. No hesitation. Just a blunt, calculated exit. She ended it with a line that felt like a slap. I've already filed the papers. I hope you can find peace in this decision too. I sat there, feeling the sand creep into every corner of my gear, my skin, my mind. I could hear my unit moving around outside, laughing, shouting, living like the world wasn't falling apart. I closed my laptop slowly, my mind blank, my pulses steady, dull thud in my temples. I stood up, unzipped the tent, and stepped out into the blinding sun. I knew something was off before I even left. The short calls, the half-hearted texts, the way she stopped asking about my missions, my safety, my return. But this was a different kind of cold. The kind that creeps in through the cracks, slowly freezes everything solid, and then shatters it with a single blow. I leaned against a stack of sandbags, the grit biting into my palms, and took a deep breath. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead. I wasn't even going to fight for her. I was going to do something worse. I was going to let her live with the consequences of the choice she made. Because in war, as in life, the quiet ones are the ones you should really fear. She didn't just leave me, she tried to erase me. The next morning, I woke up to a fresh round of sandstorms and a phone buzzing with unread messages. But one notification hit me harder than the rest, an alert from our joint bank account. At first, I thought it was just a routine balance update. But when I clicked it open, my stomach dropped. The balance was nearly zero. I scrolled through the recent transactions, my jaw tightening with each line. $5,000 furniture purchase. $2,200 luxury spa weekend. $3,800 for a wellness retreat. $11,000 wire transfer to a name I didn't recognize. She wasn't just leaving me. She was draining me. I sat on the edge of my cot, the metal frame creaking under my weight, the dry air cutting into my throat. My pulse pounded in my ears, my vision narrowing to a tight tunnel of betrayal and disbelief. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and counted to 10. It didn't help. The rage was too thick, too immediate. I had always thought of myself as a protector. My job, my life, it was all about shielding others, standing in the gap, taking the hits so others didn't have to. And here I was, halfway across the world, helpless as my wife, no, my ex-wife, burned through our savings like it was a victory parade. I grabbed my laptop and logged into our other accounts, one by one, fingers moving faster than my thoughts. She hadn't just emptied the joint account. She'd siphoned off my investment portfolio, cashed out our emergency fund, even taken the money I'd set aside for our son's college fund. I clenched my fists, my knuckles going white against the dusty metal of my cot. She wasn't just leaving. She was erasing me. I could almost see her, back in our quiet suburban house, drinking wine from a new glass set, smiling that same half-smirk she'd given me during our last video call. The one where she said, "I just want you to focus on staying safe." Safe? Safe was the last thing I felt now. I closed my laptop, my mind already moving from shock to calculation. She thought she'd cut me off, cornered me, forced my hand. But she'd forgotten one thing. I wasn't just a soldier. I was a strategist. And if she thought I'd roll over and take this, she had no idea what was coming next. She thought she'd cornered me. She didn't know I had already started building my way out. The next few days passed in a haze of sand and sweat. My mind split between the heat of the desert and the cold realization that my life back home was being gutted. But anger, real, bone-deep anger, has a way of sharpening focus. I took every spare moment to plan, to map out my counterattack. First, I called my bank. The international connection crackled, but the woman on the other end confirmed my worst fear. Every withdrawal had been authorized from my account. using my credentials. But that's impossible, I said, pacing the small, sand-streaked tent. I didn't authorize any of this. She hesitated. Sir, it was an online login from your home IP address. My mind raced. That meant she had my passwords. She must have gone through my files, my notes, even my old backup drives. I felt a chill run through me, a cold sweat in the heat of the desert. I ended the call and stared at my laptop screen, heart pounding. She wasn't just leaving me. She was erasing me. I knew I had to act fast. I opened my encrypted notes and started building a list. Every account, every piece of leverage I still had. It was time to tighten the screws. First, I froze every remaining account she hadn't touched yet. She might have cleaned out the joint funds, but my private savings, retirement, and military benefits were still under my control. I locked them down, changed every password, activated every security measure I could from halfway around the world. Next, I called my lawyer. He was an old friend, a guy I'd met back when we were both green and full of fire. I told him everything. The emails, the money, the sudden shift in her tone. He didn't waste time with sympathy. You need to file, he said, voice firm, before she tries to hit you for alimony. If you act fast, you can still freeze marital assets. I gripped the phone tighter, my jaw clenching. Do it. Then came the harder part, the house. She was still living in it, probably with him by now. I pulled up the mortgage documents, scanned the fine print. We owned it jointly, but my name was first on the title. That gave me leverage. I called my insurance company next, added a rider to the policy that required both signatures for any changes. If she tried to refinance, sell, or even rent it out, I'd know. By the time I hung up, my head was clearer, my pulse steady. She thought she'd cut me off. She thought I was too far away to fight back. She had no idea I was already building my way out. She thought distance was my weakness. It became my greatest advantage. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering who he was, what they were doing in my house, in my bed. Instead, I dug deeper into the paperwork. I found a copy of our original mortgage agreement. It listed me as the primary owner, which meant I had the right to initiate a title freeze. I reached out to the county office, filed the necessary paperwork to prevent any unauthorized changes. It would take weeks to fully process, but it was a start. Next, I tackled the utilities. Electric, gas, internet. All accounts I had set up years ago in my name. I locked them down, updated my contact details to a separate email, one she didn't know about. I paid the balances in full, then set them to autopay from my private account. If she thought she could just cut me out of the life we built, she had another thing coming. Then came the phone plan. We had a shared account. I quietly removed her as an authorized user, cut off her access to billing history and device tracking. If she wanted to upgrade her phone or pull records to support whatever story she was spinning, she'd have to go through the hassle of setting up a whole new account. I even contacted the HOA, made sure no modifications could be made to the property without my explicit consent. No new names on the mailbox, no construction, no lease agreements. By the time I was done, I had stripped away every bit of leverage she thought she had. Then I took a step further. I logged into our shared streaming services, banking apps, and even our smart home system. I changed every password, every security question, every recovery email. The doorbell camera? Re-registered under my account. The smart thermostat? Locked to my phone. The security system? Reset to factory settings, then reprogrammed with a new code. I even rerouted the delivery addresses for all our online shopping accounts. If she tried to order anything, it would end up at a P.O. box I'd just set up. And the car? That was the final touch. The SUV she loved, the one I'd paid off last year, I had the title reissued in my name only. I called the insurance company, updated the policy to exclude her, then sent a text to my lawyer to start the paperwork for repossession if she pushed back. By the end of the week, I had effectively erased her from every corner of my life. I had taken back what was mine. She thought she'd backed me into a corner, thought I'd be too far away, too disconnected to fight back. But I wasn't cornered. I was just getting started. She drained our savings. I built a new one, without her fingerprints. While she played house in my absence, I built my own fortress. First, I set up a private account under my name only, with a bank she had no ties to. I moved my direct deposits, investment dividends, and any future payments from my military benefits. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called the bank that held our joint account. I explained the situation, presented my military orders, and requested a full statement going back 12 months. When the PDF arrived, I opened it and felt my jaw clench. She'd been siphoning money for months. Small, frequent transfers that added up to tens of thousands. It wasn't just a rainy day fund. It was a full escape plan. But she had gotten sloppy. She used the same account to pay for dinners, hotels, and even a second phone line, all marked as business expenses. I highlighted every questionable charge, made a note of each date and amount, then forwarded it to my lawyer. Next, I froze the joint account. I called the bank, confirmed my identity, and locked down every dollar that remained. I had the account flagged for fraud investigation and requested that no funds be released without my explicit consent. I even set up transaction alerts, so I'd get a text if she tried to move so much as a dollar. Then I went a step further. I called our credit card companies, removed her as an authorized user, and requested new cards with fresh numbers. I even updated my security questions to answers she would never guess. Finally, I checked our shared credit score report. She had taken out a small line of credit under both our names without my knowledge. It wasn't much, but it was the principle. I called the lender, flagged the account as disputed, and froze my credit to prevent any further damage. By the time I was done, her financial leash had been cut. I even went as far as to change the billing address on our life insurance policies and moved my 401k to a private fund. She had spent months trying to build a new life without me. Now she'd have to do it without my money, too. As a final touch, I logged into our cloud storage account, the one she used for all her photos and videos, and downloaded everything. Every vacation, every birthday, every memory she thought she still had access to. Then I deleted it all. Clean slate. I wasn't just reclaiming my finances. I was erasing her from my life, piece by piece. Her best friend called me and changed everything. I expected silence. Maybe a few frantic texts once she realized the accounts were locked, the cards cut, and the safety net she thought she had was gone. But what I didn't expect was a call from Claire. It came in late, just past 11 p.m. I was sitting in the darkened living room, a cold beer in my hand, the only light coming from the muted TV. My phone buzzed on the coffee table and I saw her name. I let it ring twice before picking up. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Hey," she replied, her tone hesitant. "You got a minute?" "Depends." A long pause. I could hear the faint sound of traffic in the background. She was outside, maybe pacing the sidewalk in front of her apartment. "Look," she started, voice low, like she didn't want anyone to hear. "I know we're not exactly friends, but I thought you should know. Sarah's been talking." "About what?" "About you. About the divorce. About the money." I felt my grip tighten on the bottle. "Go on." "She's telling people you cut her off out of spite. That you're being controlling. She's even hinting that you might have been abusive." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Is that what you believe?" "No," she sighed. "Look, I've known Sarah a long time. I've seen her twist stories before, but this feels different. Desperate." I leaned back, the cold glass sweating against my palm. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think she's setting you up for something. Maybe trying to paint a picture for the divorce, make herself look like the victim." I let that sink in. Of course, Sarah would try to rewrite the narrative. She had always been good at that, turning every conflict into a story where she came out the misunderstood hero. "Thanks for the warning," I said, keeping my tone neutral. She hesitated, as if weighing whether to say more. "I'm not picking sides, okay? I don't want to see you get blindsided." "I appreciate it," I replied, meaning it more than I expected. A beat of silence passed, thick with unspoken truths. "You know," Claire added, her voice softer now, "she's not the woman you married anymore. She's changed. And honestly, I think you're better off without her." I let that hang in the air for a moment, then finally said, "Yeah, I'm starting to realize that." She let out a small, relieved breath. "Good. Take care, okay?" "You too." I hung up, setting the phone down on the table, my mind already racing through the implications. Sarah wasn't just trying to escape. She was trying to frame me as the villain in her exit story. But if she wanted a fight, she'd get one. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left standing in the ashes. She tried to make me the villain. I gave her the role she deserved. The next morning, I woke up with a clearer head. Claire's warning had snapped something into focus. Sarah wasn't just leaving. She was rewriting history. And if I let her control the narrative, I'd be the one paying the price, financially, legally, and socially. I poured a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and started making a list. I wasn't just cutting her off. I was about to make sure she couldn't rewrite the script. First, I called my lawyer, explained what Claire had told me. He listened, occasionally muttering a quiet damn or figures. When I finished, he took a deep breath. All right, he said. We can play defense, but I'd recommend going on the offensive. Document everything. If she's trying to paint you as the bad guy, you need to control the facts. I've got financials covered, I replied. She can't touch my accounts, and I've got all the receipts. Good, he said. Now think about witnesses. Mutual friends, colleagues. Anyone who can back up your version of events if she tries to play dirty in court. Claire's call suddenly made a lot more sense. She hadn't just been giving me a heads up. She was drawing a line, choosing sides. Already ahead of you, I said. Next, I went through our shared phone plan, pulling every call, every text, every late-night whisper she'd made in the months leading up to this mess. I started a folder, labeling it insurance. Then I went through the house, taking photos of every room, every piece of furniture, every shared asset. If she tried to claim I'd stolen or destroyed anything, I'd have the proof. Finally, I reached out to a few of our mutual friends. The ones who hadn't picked up her calls or liked her cryptic, passive-aggressive social media posts about choosing yourself and walking away from toxicity. To my surprise, a few of them responded quickly. Man, I had no idea she was even leaving. You good? Bro, she's been acting weird for months. We thought you were in on it. She told us you two were in an open relationship. That true? I kept my reply short, factual. No. She gave me an ultimatum, and I made my choice. The more I talked, the clearer the picture became. She had been laying the groundwork for this for a while, spreading half-truths, planting seeds, trying to frame me as the distant, controlling husband. But now I had my own narrative. And it was rooted in facts, not fiction. As I sat back, phone buzzing with messages from people slowly realizing they'd been lied to, I felt something I hadn't in weeks. Control. She wanted to make me the villain. Fine. I'd show her just how cold a villain could be. She thought she could rewrite our story. I wrote the final chapter. That night, I sat in the living room, lights dim, the low hum of the refrigerator my only company. I sipped a whiskey, watching the ice melt, letting the silence settle into my bones. I opened my laptop, pulled up my private email, and started typing. First, I reached out to our mortgage company. I had already pulled my name from the joint account, but I wanted to ensure she couldn't use my credit as a crutch once I cut the last ties. I sent the paperwork to refinance the house into my name alone. Next, I emailed the HR director at my company, requested a change of my emergency contact, updated my benefits, and made sure my life insurance beneficiary was updated. Then came the digital purge. I logged into every account we'd ever shared, streaming services, subscription boxes, shared cloud storage, and removed her access. She wanted to rewrite history? I'd erase her digital fingerprints first. Finally, I opened my personal files. Every text, every call log, every bank statement I had saved over the past year. I compiled it all into a neat, organized folder. Labeled it Proof. As I pieced together the timeline, a pattern emerged. She had been pulling away long before her finding herself speeches. The nights out, the sudden interest in solo trips, the mysterious expenses. It all lined up. I found an old text from Claire, sent months ago. Hey, is everything okay with you two? Sarah's been acting different. I brushed it off at the time, chalked it up to normal relationship turbulence. Now, it felt like a neon sign I'd ignored. When I finished, I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the past few weeks play out in my mind. Her smug smile as she walked out the door. The way she tried to paint me as controlling. The sudden shift from wife to stranger. She had tried to corner me, trap me in a role I never agreed to play. But now I was rewriting the script. I'd already locked her out of the house, separated our finances, removed her from my accounts. But I wasn't done. I opened a blank document, started typing. An open letter. Not for her, but for the people she had lied to. For the mutual friends she had tried to recruit into her narrative. For the family members she had spun her side of the story to. I kept it short, blunt, honest. Many of you have heard one side of this story. Here's mine. I had sinned. And just like that, I took back control. She tried to walk back into my life, but I had already moved on. I should have expected it. It started small. A like on an old vacation photo, the two of us, smiling by the coast, sunburned and happy. Then a follow request on a private account I hadn't used in years. Next, a text. Short. Tentative. Hey, just wanted to check in. I hope you're doing well. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Deleted it. 2 days later, another message. This one a bit bolder. I miss talking to you. This time, I didn't just delete it. I blocked the number. Then, a few days later, an unknown number. Hey, it's me. I know things got messy. I'd like to talk if you're open to it. She was testing the waters, checking for cracks in the wall I had built. I let the message sit. Didn't respond. Didn't react. Just let her words hang in the digital void where they belonged. Then, one evening, she showed up in person. I was coming back from a run, sweat soaking through my shirt, lungs burning in that satisfying way that meant I was pushing past my limits. I slowed to a walk as I rounded the corner to my house, and there she was, leaning against her car in my driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses on, like this was just another casual visit. I didn't break stride. Walked right past her, up the steps, unlocked the door. Wait, she called after me, pulling off her glasses. Can we talk? I paused, my hand still on the doorknob. Turned just enough to catch her reflection in the glass. What is there to talk about? I said, not bothering to hide the edge in my voice. She hesitated, took a small step forward. I feel like we never really got closure. I almost laughed. Closure? She wanted closure now? I pushed the door open, let the cool air wash over me. You made your choice, I said, stepping inside. Live with it. Then I closed the door in her face. She banged on it once. Twice. Marcus, come on. Don't just shut me out. I took a deep breath, ran a hand through my damp hair, and walked to the kitchen. Poured myself a glass of water. Stood by the window as her shadow finally retreated down the driveway. The old me would have opened that door. Would have let her back in. Would have listened to the excuses, the rationalizations, the half-hearted apologies. But that man? He didn't live here anymore. She chose freedom over loyalty and learned the hard way that the two aren't the same. She tried again. A few days after that driveway scene, I got another message. This time, it was long. Desperate. I don't know what happened to us. I miss how we used to be. I miss you. Can we please just talk? Even if it's just one last time. I let it sit, unread, for a full day. Then deleted it. I'd started to notice a pattern. The more silent I became, the louder she got. Like she was trying to fill the void she'd once demanded for herself. Then, out of nowhere, I ran into her at a grocery store. She looked smaller, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup, eyes dull. She saw me first, hesitated, then gave a weak, uncertain wave. I nodded, kept walking. That night, another message came through from yet another number. Please, Marcus. I know you're still hurt, but I need you to know how sorry I am. I made a mistake. I know that now. I leaned back, let the phone screen glow in the dark for a while before deleting it too. Because here's the thing, I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even disappointed. I was just done. A week later, I got a text from Claire. She's been asking about you. She's struggling. I didn't reply, because I'd already learned my lesson. When someone shows you who they are truly, deeply, without the filters and excuses, believe them. She had made her choice. She had gambled on the thrill of new beginnings, the rush of attention, the lure of freedom. But freedom without loyalty isn't freedom. It's isolation. And by the time she realized it, I was already gone. Not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, completely. I wasn't her safety net anymore. I was a ghost in her story. And for the first time in years, that felt like a victory.